So, Saagar, what's on your radar?
Well, on Saturday morning, I was minding my own business. I was rubbing the sleep from my eyes in the Rocky Mountains when an interesting thing happened to me. I checked my phone to see billionaire hedge fund manager Clifford Asness rage tweeting about a monologue I did here a few months ago about how the right must ditch libertarianism. Clifford, for background, is a hedge fund manager. He's worth about $2.6 billion. He's an avowed libertarian. He had this to say about my take. Quote, "There is nothing libertarian about crony capitalism. Libertarians have called it out first and loudest, but mediocre, and I'm being nice, nobody-braying populists of the right now think they're edgy and sound smart by decrying them, spitting out the word libertarian like a curse." I was really confused because when I went to click on the tweet, it didn't appear. But it became clear with his follow-up saying, quote, "Yes, I tweeted that, then I blocked him, as I'm not getting into a back and forth with this fool. I just won't be able to be my normal gentlemanly self. Is it weak? Yes. Necessary? I think so." So let's leave aside the fact that a man worth $2.6 billion behaves like a kindergarten child online and get to the substance of his argument. Clifford Asness is an avowed libertarian, against crony capitalism, he says. And yet, it turns out in November 2016, he accepted $35 million in tax breaks from the state of Connecticut in order to keep his business there. That sounds like crony capitalism, huh? Well, when confronted by so many of you who answered my call to action to confront him with this obvious hypocrisy, this is what Clifford had to say. Clifford essentially believes that since he's been paid taxes over the years, that in exchange for creating jobs, he's entitled to his little tax break from the state of Connecticut. In other words, Clifford is A-OK with the government giving tax breaks to businesses as long as they create jobs. And in simpler words, old Clifford is a proponent of industrial policy, but just for the business that he himself happens to have a hand in, not for other people. I've invited Clifford to come on the show, debate me, as all principled libertarians love to do on YouTube. But I'm not going to hold my breath. Clifford's bizarre online meltdown ultimately culminated in him admitting he didn't even handle himself very well. But it was far more revealing for the way that corporatists in the Republican and the Democratic Party operate. They denounce government intervention in markets unless that government intervention is helpful to the sectors that they operate in, like, say, hedge funds. Interestingly enough, at the time that Clifford got himself a nice little tax rebate, the state comptroller denounced the handout as financial welfare, given that a tax break could instead have been given to manufacturing businesses which create stable middle-class jobs rather than financial firms who only employ graduates from top-tier universities and would have no problem getting a job in any other state. Clifford's libertarian braying online, coupled with his obvious hypocrisy, tells you the story of the American financial elite over the last 2 decades. They claim to operate in the free market. Then they take bailouts, handouts, tax breaks, any other handout that they can get their grubby hands on, while lobbying tooth and nail to ensure that productive enterprises, which actually employ working-class people, have no access to the same resources. Clifford Asness's corrupt and indignant hypocrisy is exactly the corporatism that I was calling out in that monologue, which triggered him. Libertarianism, in practice, is a selective corporate welfare ideology pushed by the financial industry and big business in Washington to justify all the government subsidies and benefits that prop up the very foundation of their business. All the new right is asking for is that maybe all the government attention that is given instead be given to the working class for this country. And that's really what it comes down to, Ryan. I mean, this guy's worth $2.6 billion. He's an avowed libertarian operating in the free market. He takes $35 million from the state of Connecticut because he paid his taxes all of his life, right? I mean, and what is his great benefit to us? That he took a bunch of Harvard guys from New Haven and then moved them, or from Yale from New Haven and then moved them, to Darien, Connecticut, or wherever he's living. It's ridiculous hypocrisy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And since this is probably my favorite Saagar radar of all time.
Good. Yeah.
And since he did the debate me thing, let's bring AOC into it. That's the one that all these debate me bros want to debate me, AOC. Yeah. AOC doesn't have to because she kind of showed this crony capitalism that he supports to be a fraud when they came after Amazon.
Right.
And obviously, where does Amazon want to be? Amazon wants to be in Washington so they can control politics, and they want to be in New York City.
To control finance and commerce.
Yes, of course.
Easy. Right.
But they also want billions of dollars from Virginia and from New York while they're at it. Yeah. And New York, under pressure from local activists and AOC, they pushed them in a way where They said, you know what, we're out of here. What'd they do anyway? They just leased this entire building in Hudson Yards, which is funded by corporate subsidies also.
Of course it is, right.
And the Debate Me bros were like, well, that's not 25,000 jobs, that's only 1,500. Well, you really believed that they were going to fly 25,000 people in there on day one? Yeah. What is wrong with you? My favorite part, though, is the way that he said he didn't handle himself well. In a fight that he walked into.
Yeah, I'm like, he started this.
While you were asleep.
Yeah, I know.
And then he blocked you. Yeah. And he still can't handle himself well.
No, it was so great, too, because so many of these risers, who follow me on Twitter, I was like, they were just screenshotting my tweets and tweeting it back to them. He couldn't contain himself. He just had to get himself in on the action. But you're getting to exactly the point, which is that these guys, it's all fake. Their ideology in practice is complete BS. And Clifford, surprise, surprise, funds a lot of think tanks here in Washington and chairs for things like applied liberty, right? Yeah. In order to fund the total promulgation of this libertarian ideology, which have nothing to say about his little tax break. I mean, and that's really what it is that this guy, by the way, he was calling this New York Times agitprop because I guess it's agitprop to write about how he's an obvious hypocrite in the New York Times. But it just ultimately shows what so much of a fraud of these people who push this BS, total free market ideology really is that all it is running cover for the financial industry.
And I think you hit on that with your joke about the Debate Me thing.
Yeah, right.
Because
he's not gonna come on here.
Also think about this. What is it with these Debate Me bros?
Yeah.
Is your ideology so weak that if you engage in some logical back and forth with somebody on YouTube and that person outlogics you, that you're going to change your mind on your ideology, on your entire worldview? How about you go out and live your ideology, you organize people to advance it as a political cause, and then you implement it and see if the world becomes a better place. Debate me on YouTube.
Yeah, but what the problem, Ryan, is that won't get people a lot of retweets, and that would actually just cause them to do something real with their lives.
Still be funny to see him come on.
Yeah, it would be. Clifford, you're welcome here anytime, man. Right here in this chair.
Yes.
All right? So Ryan and I are going to dive into the state of the 2020 race overall as Iowa looms closer. That's up next.